Welcome aboard. Justin here from Swift, Silent, Deadly. Sitting here this afternoon having a beautiful glass of Jefferson Tropics. I don't know if you know about Jefferson's bourbon. Troy Zeller, the founder, experiments with different types of aging. Jefferson's Ocean, which is aged at sea, is probably the most common expression of this. It's aged on merchant vessels. Jefferson Tropics, aged in humidity, also did a voyage all the way over to Singapore, where it sat in oppressive Singapore heat and humidity for 18 months, which rapidly accelerates the caramelization of the sugars and makes this a very, very interesting, very unique bourbon. I get maybe molasses. Maybe I get a hint of molasses in this, or maybe more than a hint. It is an incredibly complex and rich bourbon. Now, something that does not go with bourbon at all is the shooting drill we're going to talk about today. Alcohol and firearms should never be used together. However, alcohol and video editing and YouTube are frequently used together, at least in my house. Today, we're going to go over the Rangemaster Defensive Revolver Qualification. A little bit about me that you may not know. I founded a blog called revolverguy.com some years ago, back in 2016. Now, revolverguy.com is a revolver-focused blog. At the time I carried a revolver, I shot competitively with revolvers, and I attended a lot of revolver training, so I can shoot a revolver. With that said, when I shot this drill, I was completely cold, and by cold, I mean I had not shot a revolver in probably over 7, 8, 9 months. It had been a long, long time. I decided to shoot it cold, see what the old man still got. This drill requires 50 rounds of ammunition. It requires a range out to 15 yards. It's shot at the 3, the 5, the 7, the 10, and the 15. This drill works a lot of different skills. It works drawing from the holster, shooting two-handed, multiple shot engagements, shooting strong hand only, shooting weak hand only. Does not test reloads. And frankly, I think it could probably use a little more distance. There's a lot of 3-round drills in this stage, and a lot of them are repeated, which gets into some of the administrative problems that I had recording this drill for you guys. So, my first iteration with the Colt King Cobra, and I'm going to blend these all together, but my first iteration with the Colt King Cobra, that's the 2019 Colt King Cobra, shot from an Acre inside the waistband holster and reloaded with a HKS Model 10 reloader, was complete. I managed to capture all the stages. I didn't forget to shoot any drills, whatever. And this gets progressively worse as the cognitive load increases. My next iteration was shot with a Smith & Wesson 686, shot from a DeSantis speed scabbard, using SL variant speed loaders shot from Jock's loader pouches. I did forget to record the last 2 stages of fire, which are 2 rounds each at the 15-yard line. So I shot those, I got the times, did not manage to get those on film. I completely forgot to shoot stages 4 and 5, which we'll get into when we get there. And once again, I forgot to record my shots, my drills, at the 15-yard line. My stages, I guess, is the correct word. Probably should only show you the Colt King Cobra version. I'm going to show you the other stuff just for the extra footage, realizing that those qualifications fired with those 2 guns are incomplete. One had incomplete rounds. One only had incomplete video footage of those rounds. All right, stages 1, 2, and 3 are all fired at the 3-yard line, and they are all the same drill. There's a lot of repeated drills in the Rangemaster Defensive Revolver Qualification. So this drill is to draw, fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds, again, at the 3-yard line. So this is the classic 3 yards, 3 rounds, 3 seconds. And we repeat this 3 times for a total of 9 rounds. So stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 are all the same drill. I managed to make the times with every single one of these, and with the exception of the first go with the 686, they were all clean. That first round with the 686, I dropped 1 round outside of the 8-inch circle, but still within that 10-inch ring. So this is shot on a Q target with the 8-inch circle and the 10-inch circle. So anything in that 8-inch circle is 5 points. Anything outside of that, but still within the 10-inch circle, is worth 4 points. Anything outside of that 10-inch circle, but still within the bottle, is worth 2 points. So this is scored 5, 4, 2. All right, the next round of drills, stages 4 and 5, are strong hand only, draw, and fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds. So still 3 yards, 3 rounds, 3 seconds, but this time strong hand only. Now, unfortunately, I made the times and I shot clean with the Colt King Cobra and the Smith & Wesson 686. However, I completely forgot to shoot both of these stages of fire with the 640 Pro Series. So they just completely don't exist. Those rounds were never fired. I forgot to shoot that stage entirely. Stages 6 and 7 are also fired at the 3-yard line. This time we start at the ready position. On the buzzer, we fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds. Again, at 3 yards, and we do this twice. So stages 6 and 7, 3 rounds, 3 yards, 3 seconds. Beginning from the ready, weak hand only. For the ready position, I like the gun between the feet of the target. That gives me the most rapid transition up to the target. It also lets me observe the target and what the target is doing, should this be something more than cardboard and paper. With the Colt King Cobra, I dropped 4 points. I dropped 1 round into the 10 ring, and I dropped 1 round outside of that 10 ring, but still within the bottle for a loss of 4 points. And now we move back to the 5-yard line. So stages 8 and 9 at the 5-yard line are to draw and fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds. So I had some more dropped points here. With the Colt King Cobra, I dropped 4 more points on my first stage. Again, that's 1 end of the 10 ring, 1 end of the bottle, but outside of the 10 ring for a loss of 4 points. And with the Smith & Wesson 640 Pro Series, I dropped 1 round for overtime. My total time is 3.35 seconds. Pretty easy to make the time on this. However, I did not have my chambers aligned correctly, so my first pull of the trigger landed on an empty chamber. And one of the great things that's touted about revolvers is the ability to just pull the trigger again if you get a click instead of a bang. You can watch me hesitate and look at the gun, which probably cost me half a second or more. Probably would have been under the time had I actually trained that. I think if you're counting on that benefit to a revolver, you need to train that way. You need to occasionally load your revolver not completely full and draw and get that click instead of a bang, so you work through that process of immediately, if I ever experience a click instead of a bang, I pull the trigger again. That needs to be a learned skill, not something that you will count on yourself to do instantaneously under the most stressful event of your entire life. Okay, stages 10 and 11. These stages, we actually fire 4 rounds. So it's 3 to the body and 1 head in a time limit of 4 seconds. So 3 to the chest, 1 to the head, 4 seconds. My first iteration with the Colt King Cobra, I dropped 1 round outside of the 10-inch circle, but into the bottle for a loss of another 3 points. I'm now down 11 points on that gun, which is not making me feel super great. However, keep in mind, I've not shot a revolver in 9 months prior to taking this gun out to the range. And now we move on to stage 12. So stage 12, we move back to the 7-yard line. This is our one and only stage of fire at the 7-yard line. So from the 7-yard line, draw, fire 5 rounds in no more than 6 seconds. Either take cover or drop to a knee and conduct a reload. The reload is not on the clock. However, you do have to do it for this to count. On all of these, I made the times. The speed loaders that I'm using, with the Colt King Cobra, I'm using a an HKS 10, which is made for a Smith & Wesson K-frame, in a split 6 pouch. I really need to get a Colt D-frame reloader. This speed loader does not work super well in this gun. It does work, but sometimes has a tendency to get caught up on that tacky rubber grip. With the Smith & Wesson 686, I'm using an actual SL variant L-frame speed loader in a Jox loader pouch. Unfortunately, Jox loader pouches are no longer made, which is a damn shame. With the Smith & Wesson 640 Pro Series, I'm using a jet loader, J-frame jet loader, again in a Jox loader pouch. This one built to be carried inside the waistband at the forward edge of the holster where there's a natural gap created. One thing I would like to see in this drill is a reload on the clock. It's frequently touted in revolver land that expecting to reload a revolver in a gunfight is the epitome of hubris or optimistic thinking or something along those lines. I disagree. I carried a revolver as my primary carry gun for about 4 years, day in, day out, and I trained frequently, and I made it up in my mind that if I was ever in a gunfight with that revolver, I would be the person on the camera speed reloading my revolver in the middle of a gunfight. I think when we say to ourselves, like, oh, you'll never be able to do this, we create a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think if you tell yourself, by God, come hell or high water, I'm going to reload this revolver. It creates the mindset that we want to have going into a gunfight. It creates confidence in the system, whether it's misplaced or not. Confidence counts for a lot. And it creates that spirit of, I'm going to carry on. Once my 5 or 6 rounds are over, I'm not just going to stop and give up. I'm going to continue on whatever it takes. I don't agree at all with the self-defeating, self-fulfilling prophecy of never be able to make this happen in a gunfight. You might not, but I will. All right, now we move back to the 10-yard line. At the 10-yard line, we draw, fire 2 rounds in a total of 5 seconds, and we do this twice. This stage, I was able to pull off completely clean with all 3 guns, which I think is the first stage I was actually able to do so. On the previous stage at 7, I forgot to mention I did drop 1 with the 7, now down 12 points with the Colt King Cobra. So at the 10-yard line, draw, fire 2 rounds in a total of 5 seconds. Pretty easy money here. And now we move back to the 15-yard line for our final 2 stages of fire. At the 15-yard line, draw and fire 4 rounds in a time limit of 10 seconds. That is ample time to get the gun out and fire 4 well-aimed shots. With the Smith & Wesson, with the Colt King Cobra, I was able to do both runs completely clean. And by the way, all 6 of these runs were within the time. With the Smith & Wesson 686, I actually dropped 4 points. So overall, how did I do? With the Colt King Cobra completely cold, having not shot revolvers in months, I still pulled out a 238. It seemed like I dropped a lot of points, but I still pulled off a 238. Tom Gibbons says a 225 or a 90% is required to pass. I feel like with a little bit of practice, I could easily pull out 100% on this drill. With the Smith & Wesson 686, I did a little bit better. Being warm and shooting a bigger gun, you would expect that I would. Only dropped 5 points. I shot a 245 with that. With the Smith & Wesson 640 Pro Series, I dropped 8 points. They were all at the 15 for a 242. However, I did not shoot 6 rounds, 2 complete stages of fire at the 3-yard line. So we can't really count that score at all. I don't think I would have dropped rounds because I didn't drop anything else until I got to the 15. But we'll never know, right? So I can't really count that one. So I got a 238 with the Colt King Cobra, which is well above a 90% and is passing, and a 245 with the Smith & Wesson 686. If you shoot revolvers, shoot this qualification and see where you stand. Find out where you come in. If you carry revolvers, you should absolutely be shooting this. This is one of relatively not very many revolver-specific qualifications out there. You should absolutely be shooting this drill. I would like to see a couple more things in this drill. I would like to see some 20 and 25-yard line shooting, as we have in many drills with semi-automatic guns. I would also like to see some reloads on the clock. I subscribe to Lee Weems's philosophy of just because you carry a revolver or just because you carry a small gun doesn't mean you're going to have a revolver-friendly problem or a small gun-friendly problem. Whatever your gunfight, quote-unquote, your gunfight happens to look like, it will not take into consideration what gun you are carrying. So you need to train to the best of your abilities with these guns. And these qualifications like this will let you know how that training is working for you and where you stand. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. If you're not a patron, please consider becoming one. Patreon.com/Swift Silent Deadly. If you are a patron, thank you so very much. It pays for website hosting, swiftsilentdeadly.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, check me out at swiftsilentdeadly.com. There's a backlog of about 400 blog posts that are not on YouTube. It pays for things like ammo, targets, gas to get to and from the range, that sort of thing, to create this content that you guys enjoy. So again, thank you very much. Until next time, stay dangerous.